got 11.
You ready?
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. We'll get started here, and our topic today is pen testing the web with Firefox. Everybody hear me? Good? Audio? Great. Okay, so try to make, everybody, you want to speak at a con, you try to make an interesting topic, and you're probably wondering, you read the abstract and you want to know, what's this thing about? So who are we and what's this really all about? My name's Michael Shearer. Pres 98 is my handle. I work for Booz Allen in Maryland. It's my job. I spent a little over 8 years in the Navy. I was a EA-6B Prowler electronic countermeasures officer. I also spent 9 months on the ground in Iraq doing counter IED work. You may have seen me speak at DEF CON and HOPE on hacking IEDs. As with Tom, the last speaker, I've also contributed to a couple of Singer's books, including two of the ones he mentioned, Penetration Testers Open Source Toolkit, Volume 2, Netcat Power Tools, which just came out last month, and also Kismet Hacking, which should be coming out any day now. I'm also a licensed amateur radio operator and active on a bunch of forums that you may be familiar with, NetSlumber, DEF CON, Remote Exploit forums. If that doesn't fill up enough of my time, I try to coach football when I can, and I have 3 kids and a 4th on the way, so they're keeping me busy. And
Good morning. I'm John Fulmer. My handle is the Kahuna. Comes from a number of years spent in Hawaii. Like Mike, I have a background in the military. I did 24 years in the U.S. Navy. I actually worked for a living instead of being an officer.
that hurts.
So my background has been in telecommunications. I've worked with everything from HF, UHF, some VLF, satellites, Morse code. I'm also an amateur radio operator. Unlike Mike, I only have 2 children, the youngest of which is 33, so I'm an empty nester. And what I've managed to do is take a love for electronics, a love for finding out how things work, why things work, how to break things, what happens when you take things that are designed to do one thing and you ask them to do something else. That's my term of hacking. And I've managed to successfully put that into a career where I am now what might be considered to a lot of you the enemy. My role is I am the director of IT security for a large aerospace and defense company. And my day job is writing policies, standards, creating processes and stuff that are designed to ensure that our networks don't get penetrated. And a lot of that is also doing things such as making sure that people are actively trying to penetrate them that tell me what the results of that is.
Okay, so what's this all about? Well, using the web or using your browser to penetration test, the way it used to be is, you go into Google and, you use Google or you use your browser as primarily an information gathering tool. And there's a lot of stuff out there, and we'll talk about that. That's then. Now, we've got specialized websites that are specific, for specific types of research. Then was individual programs for separate types of tests. Now, you can use Firefox as a platform to launch attacks. Then was different interfaces, whether it was a proprietary program or a specific interface. Every program you have some sort of different interface you have to learn, whether it's command line or whether there's a GUI. Now you can use the browser to launch your attacks from there. And then was generally OS-specific tools. If you want to use a specific tool, it's going to have to be on a specific platform. And a lot of those tools branch out and port to Windows or Linux or whatever. Now, mostly you can do some penetration testing transparent to the operating system, so it doesn't really matter. Now, we're not suggesting that all hacking should be done through Firefox. We're not suggesting that it should be done that way or that it's desirable to be done that way. What we're suggesting is that the power of Firefox and essentially being able to put extensions on Firefox to add it to its capabilities really goes beyond the information gathering stage of your pen test, and that you really now have a very powerful platform for penetration testing. So not just gathering information and then going off to use your tools, but actually sitting there with the browser and being able to really do a good, a decent penetration test using just the browser with your add-ons. That's not what I wanted. Need the page down. Okay. Oh, is this mine?
Yeah.
This is yours. We switched it, remember?
Okay. So what are we going to talk about today? Some of the things we're going to start off with is penetration testing methodology. And we'll cover just really at a high level, introduce you, let you know that there are methodologies out there that are designed to help you follow a standardized process in doing pen testing. Makes it a lot easier to do it. Then we're going to talk some specific things that you can do when pen testing the web with Firefox. We'll get into how to use Firefox standalone. We'll get into how to do it with some the website-based tools that you get, certain websites that we have found to be useful when conducting pen tests. And then there's plugins and extensions. I mean, anybody that uses Firefox on a regular basis probably has 20 or 30 of these extensions in there that they use quite frequently. Some of them we found quite useful. Some of them are, you use day to day. Some of them you only use when you're doing specific tasks. And we'll talk about doing some setups and stuff. We'll also talk about using Firefox as a front end to do a lot of things. And then we'll give you some ideas of places like those of you that were in here for Tom's talk previously. He talked about the live CDs and being able to do this in a safe environment. We're going to show you some websites that are designed. Tom's is one of them. There are others, some other distributions and stuff where you can go out and you can practice these skills and hone these skills without running afoul of the law, because we all know we don't want to end up spending any time behind bars. So we're going to kind of help you do this kind of safely so that when you do get permission from a customer to actually do it, you've honed your skills, you know what to do, and you're very successful at it. The methodologies that we have, some of them that's here is like the open source security testing methodology manual, OSSTMM. This is a freely available manual. There is version 2, version 3 will be coming out. If you're a subscriber, you can have access to version 3 now. If you're not, you have to wait until it's publicly released, but it is out there. It is very good. It's high level. It gives you a lot of the processes and the steps, and it lays it out in a manner so that if you follow them, then the chances of success in pen testing are proving to the customer that their site is basically secure from everything that you're able to do is increased. The Open Web Application Security Project was another one that we found very useful, and since it's open source, it's available to all of you. NIST, I do, as does Mike, a lot of work with the federal government agencies, and there is a lot of information available from the federal government on doing pen tests and securing systems and stuff, and I encourage you all to look at those. And then the penetration testing framework is another type of framework designed to help you, give you some hints, and tell you a standard process to go through. And when you go through standard processes, you have a better chance of being able to successfully do what it is because you're doing the same thing, you're using the same approach. It's not going to give you every step you should do. It's going to tell you some things to attempt, some things to look for, and then you have to use your experience and your knowledge as a pen tester to take those and determine what it is you really need to focus and what some of the steps are. None of these methodologies and none of these frameworks are going to be a silver bullet. There is no silver bullet. The silver bullet is up here, it's years of experience, and it's being able to interpret correctly the results you get from your tools and stuff. So no matter which of the methodologies you choose, it's typically a process that you go through, and we found the process to be things like planning and reconnaissance. That's where you determine, go back one. Next slide. Oh,
Spell it wrong?
O-W-A-S-P.
Misspelled it.
Wow. Amazing. Next slide. Okay, so planning and reconnaissance, this is where, you know, you've got your target, you've been contracted by some company or your own company to go out and pen test their external or internal, and you start the planning of this. This is where you sit down and you look at it's the initial state. What is it you're trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? You put all the rules in place, terms of engagement with the customer, et cetera, and then you start collecting information about your target network. Next one is the scanning and enumeration. This is where you actually start doing things that are active. This is where you go out and you start doing the data collection. You scan what ports are open. Tom showed you earlier a live CD, and really, there's a couple of us in the audience, I'm not sure how many of you did it, actually did an mmap scan on there and found about 27 different services that were wide open on that access point and that website and server that he had stood up running on his laptop. Then you get into gaining access and penetration. We're not going to get into that here. We are going to give you a little bit, but we're not really going to give you 0 days or stuff like that. But there are things that you can do with Firefox to enable you to look and have a better idea and a better chance of successfully gaining access if in fact those services are exploitable. And then maintaining access and exploration. This is all part of the frameworks and the methodologies, but not something we're going to address here. And then finally, covering your tracks. Not going to touch that at all. Hopefully when you're doing this legally, and you have permission and you don't want to do any harm. That's the #1 rule I have when I have to do these is I'll do no harm. I'll go as far as I can to prove that I could, but I'm not going to change or knock down any services intentionally. You want to take this slide, really?
I want to go into some of the specifics about different ways of using the browser. First, standalone. So we're talking about just using your browser. You know, you could download Firefox, no extensions, and things you could do there. And the second one is website-based tools. So that's things that places you can go, websites that are already out there to do these things. So again, and really both of these you could use any browser for. You could use Internet Explorer. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could. Google Hacks. Johnny Long has talked for several years about the Google Hacks, and they're all out there. So I mean, it would be remiss of you not to use that in your test. We'll give you three good examples, or what we found to be good examples of extensions or plugins that Firefox has out there. Firefox has a front end for other tools like Metasploit and such like that. And then, you know, we're going to say, hey, here's 60 good extensions, and you're probably not going to want to load up 60 extensions in your browser because it's going to be a memory hog. But so we'll give you some ideas of how you can deal with that. So standalone, out of the box, you download Firefox 3.0.1 now off the website. Out of the box, you're largely limited to information gathering, and this makes sense because, like I said, you could use any browser to do this. But there's a lot of stuff out there, and in penetration testing, a general rule is the more information you can gather about your target, the better your chances are of exploiting that target. And how are you going to find that vulnerable service if you're not looking out there? So, Whois searches out there, Sam Spade, DNS stuff, Netcraft Toolbar. We'll talk a little bit about that. Edgar filings. A lot of people will forget to look in that stuff. And then using Google, news groups. How many network administrators have a problem with XYZ box, and they go onto a news group and ask for people to help? They got a problem. with, I got a problem with this device and I can't fix it.